Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Chit Chat and Chill. Our organization is very much against the cancel culture that exists today. So when we have dialogue, we're open to all points of view without judgment. Welcome to the conversation. Hello, everyone.
Technical difficulties. All right. So, hello, everyone. Good evening. Tonight on our Chit Chat and Chill episode, we're going to talk a little bit about the crime and how it spiked during the pandemic, as well as the Kwame Brown. I don't even know how to introduce it, but the Kwame Brown conversations, the cancel culture, the podcast stuff that's going on, all of his lives and all of his opinions. It's been really interesting as of late. So we're also going to talk a little bit about that. So to kick it off, we want to talk a little bit about how crime has increased during the pandemic and is not going down. And I don't know what we can do about it as a society, I guess, try to think about what went into it, what's going on, and how's it been in your areas. I know I'm in Chicago, and it's been, man, I mean, because of the protest, I read an article that said that because of everything that's going on, it's just been a perfect storm. We had the protests, you have, all the police shootings and stuff that got all the media attention. And then you got people out of jobs. You got a pandemic. I probably should have started with the pandemic. You got kids home, parents still trying to work and juggle everything. Then you got kids who are in that middle age who are just not in school. And in Chicago, we had hella carjackings happening last summer. We still had them going on recently. They're starting to taper now. But I don't know what else you wanted to talk about, Anthony. I know it's been really scary.
Yeah. I'm gonna cut you off. It's definitely scary when you turn over on your phone and you see an alert that say 2 people shot, 3 people shot, 4 people shot. Like every morning, it's a different situation and it's different and it's getting scary because you have these kids out. There's nothing really for them to do. Nothing going on. You have with COVID, it has limited everything. So it's very scary on what this summer's gonna look like. Like, what is this gonna look like now? Like, everything now is somewhat opening up. Look, people are starting to be out. Are you gonna start seeing armed robberies? Are you gonna start seeing more of this? Like, it's just concerning and it's very stressful. People that live in the city and it's not necessarily in the city. It's everywhere. Like, it's out in the suburbs. Like, yeah, it's getting a little bit, uncomfortable.
And there's malls that have closed. Sometimes some of the teenagers and stuff, they would go to the malls and do other things before, and now they're just at home or they're out in the street. And I know, like I said, in Chicago, they end up downtown, they end up in groups, They end up getting arrested just because they're trying to hang out and find something to do. And it's been crazy. I don't know, Tito or Jeffrey, where you guys are at. If it's been, we know that nationwide the crime has gone up and it hasn't come down in a year. So I don't know if you guys want to talk about how it's been near you or where you're at.
Well, here, I mean, crime rate in California, crime rate's a crime rate. It's like anywhere else, but it has gone up. But I had somebody tell me, he was like, man, just look at it like this. He's like, if your parents is laid off their job and the line at the food bank is around the corner, and you can't get this and you can't get that, and you don't have a hotspot in your house, you can't afford internet, you can't do this, people are going to resort to do what they have to do to get by. He's like, agree with it or don't agree with it, but people are going to resort to whatever they have to do to get by. It's like when you panic a society, in that panic, some people are just going to react in panic and go do stuff, out of stupidity, and there's not much you can do about it. He's like, that's going to be everywhere, and that's going to be anybody. He said, when you get put in a position where you feel like you don't have any other choice, you're going to do what you got to do to survive. Now, I don't condone it, but I understood what he was saying. Yeah.
So,
Why are you chewing?
So he's like, let me chew on this.
I don't think that there's a panic when it comes to crime. I think it's a free for all, because when this whole thing started, we started having riots happen, and when those riots started happening, they didn't increase the police presence. They pulled back, and they started talking defunding. And every time an officer did anything, it would either go national or there was a threat to go national, even when it was clear that they were in the right. So when you have that, you have a lot of police officers saying, I'm not going to get involved in any of this. And they step back and they watch. And not only that, but you have full on states, governors not prosecuting. So they're instructing their DAs, we're not prosecuting for anything. So you're opening up large corporations, small corporations to being looted and burned to the ground. Police cars are being burned and nobody's doing anything about it and nobody's getting arrested. That's a recipe for disaster, and it's not going to change until people stop talking, or stop even allowing that discussion to defund police, because it's nonsense and it's only going to hurt the worst off areas. The lower income areas, the high crime areas are only get higher crime and lower when it comes to income. And it's not going to stop. It's just not. It can't.
And I feel like that's what we're seeing right now. And it's just scary. Like we were saying, it's just like you wake up every morning, not even every morning, all day long. It's just the constant 2 people shot, car crash, people shooting on the dang expressway. Like you can't go nowhere. It's like it's frustrating.
So Chicago already has an issue with not prosecuting crimes, whether it's petty crimes or even homicides. If you kill somebody, there's a 30% chance that nothing will happen to you.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. It's 70%.
No, 70% chance.
70%.
30% chance that you'll actually get caught up.
That's insane.
Wow.
And then even when you do get caught up, you're not doing a full sentence. They're just not prosecuting. I don't know what's going on there, but I know the mayor sucks, and I know the DA sucks, and they're more interested in being on TV and talking to other people about what they should and shouldn't do than focusing on what they should be doing. And that city is in trouble, and it's not going to change until she's gone. I can't believe that there's been no movement to recall her, because now she's talking all this nonsense about only interviewing with people of color. And I don't know how you get away with it. If Trump said that he would only be interviewed by white people, the country would burn. I don't know how
that's very true.
Away with the stuff that
that's very, very true.
There have been people who come out against her.
Racist.
People are wondering if she's self-sabotaging a little bit, because it's just been so ridiculous. The stuff that comes out of her mouth is just silly.
And I caught without her mask multiple times. She got caught getting her hair done, and her answer to that is, "I'm the mayor." Like she's royalty, and the rules should be the rules.
Nancy Pelosi got caught doing the same shit or same stuff.
Yeah, it's insane that she gets away with it, and that city's gonna. I mean, everyone under her is gonna follow. I think they just voted no confidence in her. All the police, I don't know what they're called, but they voted no confidence in her as a mayor or as a leader, and that's not a good sign. All that's gonna do is make it worse. Because as soon as criminals know they can go into a Target and they can steal up to $999 worth of stuff, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah.
There's no reason not to do it. And they can't even stop you. They literally have to watch people run out of their stores with whatever is under $1,000.
Insane.
And that's all over the country. So it's not just Chicago. It's not just LA. It's all over the country. There's liberal epicenters where they're declaring that they're not going to prosecute people.
Right.
But there's really no reason for it. They're just not. So
I think they said, well, their argument was that they're trying to keep low crime people out of prison, out of even, the local, just not doing paperwork on them, basically. But then, like you said,
what they're supposed to do. We don't want to do paperwork.
And like you said, now it's like, wait, what? I mean, we even have the thing now where it's like you could come on my property and you won't get arrested. Like there's no trespassing, there's no being arrested for trespassing. Literally, they'll just write you a ticket and say, please leave. and leave. Like,
Wow.
and why would the cop even show up? If I'm calling and saying this guy's harassing me, he's on my property, he's trespassing, and you know that when you show up, there's nothing you can do, why would you show up as a cop?
There's no reason.
You're not going to
There's no
come. They're going to call and call and call. No one's going to show up. Then people are going to start complaining how the police aren't doing their jobs, when really it's defund the police. Oh my gosh, it's just like
it's the perfect storm
right now, and
it's like it's just the perfect. It's just like a snowball. It's a snowball effect.
There was a question there, and it was asking what the difference is as far as Chicago is concerned. What's the difference between Lightfoot
and any other Chicago mayor
or any other Chicago mayor? Not much. Only she's just open about not enforcing any. She's anti-law enforcement, and she's open about it, and she doesn't want to prosecute anything. So when we had Daley back in the day, he at least pretended that he was pro-law enforcement, but he was more pro-law enforcement in his area. So as far as low-income areas, there's not much of a difference. There really isn't. You can go back.
Lori, I think she defends the police. See, that's what I'm saying. She turned off everyone somehow. She managed to get on the people's side at some point early in her career, and then she managed to lose her followers because then she started defending the police, and it's just she somehow turned everyone off. She's just
especially
ridiculous. No one trusts her decision making at this point. It just makes no sense.
Especially during the riots, you start seeing how things started to go, and her decisions. I'm not sure. I didn't follow this case, but I'm not sure. But what happened to the people that bust into the door and the lady was naked?
Oh, that's still, I think, being investigated.
You know what I'm saying? So stuff like that, like, it's not, at least say something, So I think a lot of that, why people don't really looking at her like, okay. So you raise the bridge, but allow us to tap our neighborhood, and you don't put necessary, police patrol where they should be, but you allow us to trap our neighborhood. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I used to say probably like 7 months ago, I was like, kids need to be back in school. They're committing these crimes. They don't have anything else to do. We need to invest in our communities. But I feel like we're making policies that are just, making it so crime is easier.
Anti-business and it's pro-criminal, and those two things don't go together.
But it's true, and at the same time, it makes me think. It makes me think about like the prison system and how the prison system is one of the biggest industries. So if it's not gonna, it makes me think about that for a second. Anti-business, not prosecuting. It's kind of like a snowball effect.
Well, I don't have a problem with the prison system right now as it is today.
I do. It's all black.
And you know what, man? And scratch it. I'm gonna say this. I think, man, we all about the non-cancel culture, right? I think people, especially African American, especially Black people, and this is kind of mine. I think we have a problem with voting for some. Like, we all know politician has their own agenda, But for some strange reason, I feel like we vote like, oh, she's one of us. You see what I'm saying? Oh, she's one of us. So she should know, girl, she should know she's one of us.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it'd be like, then when something happened, you like, dang, Auntie Lori, like, what happened? What's up? She like, you one of us. You don't forget about the machine that she's behind. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's like, oh yeah, she one of us. Oh yeah, she one of us. Then you be like, dang, she tore the DTI, the Nike out that I go to. Tore all that shit up. Damn.
Hilarious.
Or at least her policies do.
Yeah, you be like,
You're
damn.
right, though, because look at our vice president, right? That's the same thing you could say. Like, there's a lot of support that went behind her purely as a Black woman that had nothing to do with policies, that had nothing to do with anything.
Nothing to do with policy.
Don't get me started on that one.
You see what I'm saying?
He's in California.
California.
So I truly think like,
hey, hold on. She showed that she didn't like us. She showed that she didn't like us, and these fools still went and voted for it. She showed that she don't like Black men, and it was like, oh no, you can't hold against her what she did in the past. What? Come on, man. That's all I got. That's all I got is her record. That's all I got.
You know what I'm saying?
The
And I
same.
think that's a big problem. I think that's one thing. I think Black people have to realize, like, they need us. You know what I'm saying? Like, they need us. So we need to put a demand for them to make the change that we need to see happen. Not because we look at it as like, man, we got one up in there now. We good. When you look back, you be like, hold on. They tore up. All of they like where can I get my food at now? You know?
They voted for Obama thinking that we was going to get our 40 acres and a mule. Look what happened.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's a problem. So we need to, like, I don't know how you gonna fix it. I don't know how it's gonna go down. I really don't know how, but I feel like at some point that's something that needs to be addressed, and we need to fix it. Do something, figure out some type of way of fixing it.
Well, when Black folks show up with a different opinion, right, and we talk about trying to fix it, but if we don't vote a certain way, we get talked about and canceled or labeled, and that's part of the problem too. Sorry, Till, you have raised your hand.
No. Well, I was going to say the same. There is one person who's talking about that, and it is Kwame Brown.
Oh, good segue right into the next comment.
No, but I mean, everything we're talking about, he's been bringing up, and I think it's really important because there's a lot of people who wouldn't normally be paying attention to politics who are listening to what he's saying, and they're like, oh, that's deep. It ain't anything different than a lot of other people are saying, but they're hearing it from somebody who they're more they just respect more because of how he's handling himself. And part of those kids running around and doing all the stuff in downtown Chicago and in the suburbs and all over is the lack of men in the household. And he's been really stressing men, be a man, alpha male, not beta males. So
Black man, I'm gonna let y'all talk about that a little bit. Well, Shayla, did you want to talk about Kwame Brown, this topic that we're talking about right now?
No, y'all can go ahead.
I'm gonna jump out. I'm gonna let y'all talk a little bit, but
she don't want none of that smoke.
Hey man, this is a touchy subject, you know. Black men, you know, it's just
Okay, I'll jump in and I'll ask a question. So this Kwame Brown situation, a little bit of background, right? There's the, like, you made a mention to the podcast, Becky with the Good Hair, aka Matt, what's his name? Matt Barnes.
Matt Barnes.
StephenJackson have podcast, all the smoke. And I've listened to it a few times. I grew up liking basketball. I'm from Chicago, Michael Jordan, all of that. I'm a Bulls fan. So I listen to the podcast with my husband sometimes. And Kwame Brown recently came out with some comments that they made about him as a so-called bust in the NBA as a first round draft pick, or the number one
draft pick.
Yeah,
by Michael Jordan, et cetera. All the pressure that comes with that. People have always made fun of him, but he actually responded. So do you guys want to talk a little bit about, does someone want to kick off the conversation about what he's talking about and how it kind of goes beyond just petty comments, right?
It does. I could start.
I mean, I can say let me say one thing.
Okay, yeah.
Teddy was not a bust. When you play 13 years and make $64 million, you're not a bust. I think the problem is that he didn't live up to the potential, seeing that it was Michael Jordan that drafted him. So we take basketball players and being GM is a whole different conversation. So he wasn't really a bust. So you go on, like I said, yeah.
So this all, while as it was happening, as people started making fun of him, Stephen A. Jackson was one of the first people who started that conversation. What Kwame Brown's issue is not so much the jokes, it's how this all started. So it all started when he was drafted, and the colleges did not like high school kids coming out. I think he was one of the first ones, if not the first one, at least one of them. Him coming out costs colleges a lot of money, and it's not just him, because everybody who sees him, if they see him as a success, more people are going to follow. I don't have to go to college. I don't have to risk getting hurt because I'm not getting paid in college. If I get hurt, I don't get paid. I can't make the league. And the dominoes fall in the wrong way for somebody who's young. So the effort of ESPN and the colleges was, hey, let's send Stephen A. out there and discourage people from doing what this guy does. He never had a chance, whether he was a good player or not. He was never going to have a chance because they needed him to fail in order to stop other kids from doing what he did. and it was not going to stop. And I just think it's way deeper than people calling him a bust or not calling him a bust, because he doesn't even care if you call him a bust. But if you go back to the very, very beginning, it was StephenJackson getting Smith getting paid to go out and prevent people from doing what he was doing, or because I think they were trying to do one and done or something like that.
I don't think he cares that.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think he cares that people call him a bust. I mean, he's been sitting back quiet for 20 years. Hasn't said anything. So it's just his big thing is how you address him and how you address the situation. And then that kind of goes into what we were talking about before is he always says, I'm my mama's son, right? So you're disrespecting me as a black man. You have this great platform, but you're not utilizing it properly. You're just doing basically what Stephen A. Smith was doing, degrading and talking down to me when you should be uplifting and doing other things like that. So that's his big thing. And I agree with a lot of the stuff that he's saying. I agree with a lot of it.
It's so easy to look at those videos on the surface because his videos are like long. So you kind of have to watch for context because you just watch a few minutes or a minute and you kind of miss that he's making a longer point, because you could watch 3 minutes and all he's like, and where this, and where that, motherfucker, about it. Like I watched a little bit and I got turned off immediately because I was like, this fool just calling them names. And he didn't seem like he was acting like he kept saying, I'm 39 years old, I'm 39 years old, I'm too old for this. I was like, then why is he acting like this? But then when I kept watching, so for those of you who haven't seen his full videos, I would recommend watching them all the way through because he makes good points like you guys are saying.
His name calling is expert level. I'm sorry,
man.
If he went and get Bayless. Like I'm like, this guy is amazing.
It's incredible.
I don't even know what Mike Wilbon did to the man because Mike ain't said nothing, but he called him a milk dud head idiot. I'm like, Jesus, man.
He got jokes.
Mike Wilbon didn't even get in there yet. But it's. I think the one thing that's annoying to him is these are all like NBA players, you know, and the NBA players with their podcast, you know, started something, and you know, then Charlamagnethagod got into it, and then you know, this is stuff that they can't finish because the young man he's very articulate. I wish he would have done more interviews when he was in the league because you know. He knows how to get his point across, even in the comical way that he's doing it, calling people names. But I understand, like, you know, the guys in their podcast, they even were, you know, you bring this man up in a negative fashion, and then you're like, well, we don't want to give you this much shine, so we're going to stop talking about you now. Too late. You ran your mouth. Now you can't handle what the man's got to say. You know, he's telling the truth about you, and you guys thought you were going to use him as clickbait. So you got what you deserve. I'm like, Kwame, give him all the smoke, bro. Give him all the smoke.
Did you have something, Ant?
Oh no, man, my bad. My internet's messing up. No, I agree. I definitely agree with, you know, the things that he is saying. You know how they. Like, because he talked about how the violence issue. Like, he's like, man, I wasn't being violent. He's like, I really wasn't being violent. He's like, but they took it there. So it was just like, okay, so you paint this person like he crazy, and then like, you know, he's talking about, and then it's like, nah, we gotta try to shut him up, and it's like now it's like, no, you can't this. No, he got a following. Like, he has a following now. Like,
can we talk about the following?
This man went from 12,000 subscribers on YouTube, and he was over 170,000 in 6 days. I've never seen anything like that. And that's just subscribers. If you look at the views on his videos, it doesn't really tell the story because there's a lot of people doing reaction videos that are all getting views. And he talked about that too. But going back to those players, what he's saying, everybody knew, but nobody really thought about it. They make a living off of making fun and joking about other teenage boys. Like, once he said that, I was like, oh, this is real. Like, he was like, Stephen A. Smith, you made money off of bashing a 20 years ago, a teenage black boy who all he was trying to do was buy his mother a house.
Right.
Once he said that, it's like, oh wow, because now you can look forward to what they're doing now, and he does the same thing. This man made a career off of tearing down almost exclusively young black athletes, from football to basketball, and that's just what he does. Skip Bayless the same thing. When Jalen Rose way back in the day called Skip Bayless out for his BS, and he's like, "You're a scrub. You never played basketball." He was like, I think he put up his stats like 3 points per game or whatever. He's like, "You have no right to talk about any basketball players." And he ended up getting, I think he got kicked off the show. I think he came back for like a consolidation of what happened, and then they got rid of him because he was right, and they really had no defense. All they do was scream about how people are scrubs. Back then, Skip Bayless called Kwame Brown a scrub. Last week, after Kwame Brown started throwing it at everybody, he's like, "Yeah, I'll give him a pass. I don't think call him a scrub because he played for 10, 12 years. That's not technically a scrub." Yeah. You weren't saying that, he was years ago. You just don't want what he's given now.
Yeah.
And all these guys, the only ones I can see getting out of it just now did, which is StephenJackson. He apologized publicly. And that's all he asked for. Publicly, and he's like, "That's it. I'm done. I don't want any of this." Gilbert was out first. He was the first one to say, "I want none of this dude."
Yeah,
you guys don't know what you're getting into. If you get into it, don't say I didn't warn you. And if you look in almost every video, he's in the comments making fun of making fun of everybody because he knew what was going to happen. Because this guy, the people I guess who knew him closely knew that he was capable of what he's doing right now, and it's just everybody knew what they were doing. And I've always been turned off by the insulting these players that you couldn't hang with. Who are you? Basketball players did it. It didn't bother me as much, but there's never any positive talk about these guys unless they die.
Chris Webber put me in my place about the men. Chris. I was talking to Chris Webber on he had his radio station on Sirius XM, and I was talking to him. We were talking about how bad. Well, I was talking about how I didn't like Kwame Brown and how bad he was. Good riddance. Go ahead and go over to this trade for Pau Gasol. He was like, man. He said, "Who's the best basketball player personally?" And at the time, I was like, "My boy Bird." He's like, "He'd kill your boy Bird." He said, "You know what it takes to get in the league?" He was like, they don't take scrubs in the league, man. And it made me think of him different because, I'm the Kobe fan of all Kobe fans. And, Kobe had issues with a lot of players who didn't put in the work that he did. But Kobe was on a different level of work ethic than a lot of players in the league. So, I had to sit back and be like, well, maybe Kwame Brown ain't that bad. Maybe Chris Webber's right.
Yeah, when I actually researched his stats, I think because again, him living to the potential of Michael Jordan and being Michael Jordan's number one pick, being Jordan's first pick, and you think Michael. Yeah. I think the problem is we try to equipolate. I think that's the right word. I don't know. Ring up try to use the right word, but we try to basically because they could play basketball, they could be a good GM.
Got sports media for you,
and that don't work. So we think because they think because he made that's where it really came from. The pressure of so Gilbert was right when he said that. However, your man ain't no bust. He made $64 million, 13 years on some good teams. You ain't no bust.
I like how he explained himself too, and how he kind of said, "I don't have to explain myself, but I'm going to say what I know happened when he got drafted and what Michael's mindset was then and how Michael was a young GM, all that stuff, or a young owner." I just really liked how in the beginning he said, "Why are y'all talking like this is a fraternity? You join this league of players and we're in this fraternity and y'all got this deal on this podcast, probably owned by this white company, and they're paying you to badmouth your brothers. Why are you like that?" Really struck me because I feel like as Black people, we tend to do that. We tear each other down, and it is popular and it is something that becomes bigger. But I feel like we should be able to grow beyond that. And to his point, when you have the platform now that it's grown so big, do good with your platform. Stop tearing people down. And the fraternity part, I was like, man, that's so true. If you start doing it, like anyone in an actual fraternity or sorority was doing that to each other, You don't stand for that. It's kind of crazy how they've gotten popular doing that, and it's like breaking an internal code. I really wonder how other players feel, and I wonder if other people are going to come out and say something similar. Tito?
Well, they do. Stephen A. He just did it to Westbrook. Like, so it's just what he does. So I think one of the best points Kwame made was, okay, I'm a bus. We'll take what you said and we'll just say it's true. He was like, I don't care, but we'll say it's true. Then why did you have beef with Kevin Durant? He's the best player in the world. And then it changes your perspective. Like, why is he going after these? These are great players. So it's not just there's got to be a reason. So when he pointed out that whole there's more behind this, and he started talking about he said they're gonna start coming after me. They're gonna try to paint me out in different ways. And literally the next day they started doing it. All of a sudden Jamil Hill has something to say and says about it. It's like, oh wow, this is crazy. Then Charlamagnethagod did something really interesting because he had nothing to do with this.
Nothing.
He jumps in and says, I'm good friends with Matt Barnes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And he follows that by running down Kwame Brown's father, two of his brothers, and one of his sisters. And it's like, they really are like, they're really going after this dude because they had no reason to bring these things up. And when they did, it's like, now Charlamagne, I guess just earlier today tried to apologize, but he's not going to get out of it like StephenJackson did, because StephenJackson and him, they're boys, and they were the original people who were going at it. So once one of them apologized, you could squash that. But when somebody comes drop kicking you from the right, and it's like, who are you? Mm-hmm. You can't just apologize that away, especially because after Charlamagne said what he said, he just got crushed.
Yeah.
When he started calling him a violator and all that stuff, people started saying, well, what is this about? They started looking it up. Then he sent the cease and desist letter to him, telling him he can't talk about it because he didn't technically rape the girl. What he messed up is Kwame is smart. So he said, okay, I apologize. I retract everything I said. And then he read the charges. Whew. When he read the charges, that made everything worse because then it's delinquency of a minor, penile, something about insertion in the vagina. It's like, oh my gosh, of a 15-year-old girl. Now everybody's researching like, oh, I didn't know it was that bad. All he did was make it worse. So you can't now then come after all this. Now you want to apologize. He's not getting off of that. I don't know how his career, I have no idea how he's going to keep a career. I don't see how it's possible after everyone goes back in this time of cancel culture.
Speaking of cancel culture,
there's no way out of this. There's just no way. And apologizing, every step that Charlamagne has done is wrong. And he put himself in it and he's done. He's done.
In your opinion, Shayla?
No, he's
I'm interested to see, I guess. Yeah, Shayla.
I just wanted to piggyback off of Tito's earlier comment. Like, if you really think about collegiate basketball, it's insane how much money this institution is making off of these kids, and they have no kickback, no royalty, no cut off of their name. Like their jerseys with their names on it, like all these different things, and they don't have any cut to all the memorabilia. Like all of this money is just going straight to those institutions. So I can easily see how they would blacklist these kids and target it to discourage it because there's so much money at stake. It's just scary to think about how not only is it happening, it's like front and center, and I didn't even think about it like that.
Right.
It's insane.
Yep, it is. And to have a black man do it is just messed up. It's so messed up. And then
who better to have do it though?
I know, but I didn't think about it like that. Like y'all said, he said it out loud. And you're sitting there like, and then I liked all the pauses he took because it helped me to think. Because when people talk too fast, sometimes I'm just like, you hear it and then you hear it later. You really hear it later. But he kept pausing. Are y'all hearing me? I'm like, man, you know what? Like, the hell? What? I want answers.
But remember, Dave Chappelle talked about that too, like how every all of a sudden everybody now I'm crazy. Everybody's thinking I'm crazy. Even my closest friends are coming out doing these interviews, talking like I'm just insane.
Right?
People I trust, people that know me. He talked about it when he left Comedy Central.
Yep.
I think Jeffrey had something.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, to me, this is it's like you know, when people go out shark hunting and they throw the chum in the water. So Kwame Brown's the chum, and the sharks they all attack, right? But Kwame Brown, um, after all these sharks come in, he's actually protected himself and actually come back and basically beat the sharks off of him, because we could have all been in the time that we live in. All you have to do is write a headline, and everybody's going to click on it to see what's going on. So they created a headline about the wrong person, and now they're all suffering for it. So this was a guy that wasn't afraid of the shark, and now they're all suffering from it. And I wouldn't want to be on Kwame's bad side, like never. Like, you ain't gonna question my manhood. We gonna have to fight. Like,
I'm trying to watch what I say on here just in case it's the back. Like, I don't want no problems.
I support you, brother.
Exactly.
Well, even when he was like, y'all keep talking, I'm gonna keep digging. He was talking about the reporters and how he was gonna dig because y'all doing all this, talking about my dad, my sister, my family. Okay, well, I'm gonna dig on y'all and see what you got going on in your background because you're a public figure, right? I was like,
that's
oh
terrible.
He's
that when you have the black woman rolling her head talking about you got the wrong run, hunty.
That's Kwame Brown right now. Internet, it's always receipts or something. You can, if you're a public figure, it's never a safe moment because all it takes is one click and edit.
Yep. Go ahead, Tito.
Yeah. So, and one of the things that's really interesting, again, he called everything that was going to happen. So when they started trying to do it, it had no effect. It bounced right off of him because he's like, I told you they were going to do this, and it's like, man. So it's like this dude's a prophet. He's really like this knew what they were going to do, but he's been watching them for a while, and he had 20 years to say one of these days I'm gonna get all of these dudes, and it really just exposed something about that business that is like, man, they really are just trying to tear down young black men, and there's no reason for it. And I like that he's pivoted that, saying we can use this, all this energy can be used. He's even already talked about it with StephenJackson. We can, do food banks. We can do so much more than tear each other down. And it's fascinating to watch because the method that he used was completely unconventional, but it's probably the most, I can't think of a more effective way to do it because he brought in people. There's a lot of people who are there just for the drama, but they're going to catch those nuggets when he does those pauses. They're going to think about it. Oh, he's bringing all these people in and he's talking about important things like fourth grade reading levels. He's talking about crime in the inner city. He's talking about police. Like, he's talking about everything, and he's throwing it in there in between all the funny stuff. So the ones who aren't going to catch it, they weren't going to catch it regardless. But there's a lot of people who are like, man, you really opened my eyes. And I just, it's so fascinating to watch.
It is. And even the fact that he said he used to do interviews, but they didn't like what he was saying. Yep. And he didn't like how they would cut up his interviews and put them back together. So he just stopped talking. So that's why we haven't heard from him.
And that's the same.
But if you think about it, his delivery probably reached more people than the standard interview. So that's why nobody would want him talking because of the way he does it.
Yeah, it's definitely unconventional, like you said. Go ahead, Dave.
I was going to add to that. Like, there was one segment he had, it was like 45 minutes long. And you get the sense it's pro-black. Like, how can we make black people better? Then he started giving advice to women. Women. You got these dudes buying you these Birkin bags and all this $30,000. Why not just take the money, buy a house, buy something that's going to give you residual income? So then he started breaking it down. And I'm like, man, this is quality TV right here. And again, the main news streams, they're not gonna capture that. They're gonna capture what's gonna get the clicks. So
all the cursing and the name calling that happens throughout, like you said. Go ahead, Tito.
We've been told that everyone has a short attention span, but that's not true. This dude putting out 1.5 hour videos, and people are watching it all the way through.
Yeah.
These are live. So if you think about the biggest podcast in the world right now is Joe Rogan. This dude does 2 and 3 hour podcasts. The attention span isn't the issue; it's the content that you have. So if you're talking about something real or interesting in any way, people will watch. I mean, I probably spent, I don't know how many videos he's done. I probably spent 10 hours watching this guy in the last 2 weeks or week. That's a lot of time, but everyone supposedly has this short attention span. I think that's another thing that needs to be looked into, because I just don't believe it. And I know I listen to podcasts. Even when I'm not doing anything, I'm listening to podcasts. If I'm at work, I'm listening to podcasts. So it's really the content. And I just don't buy the attention span thing. If you have a really good message, this dude's message is a lot more than the cursing and the funny jokes. Because like you guys said, he's saying some real stuff. I'm like, oh man. And every time he says something like that, it's powerful because you don't expect it when it comes, because he just got through laughing at somebody. Boom, he hits you from the back, like, oh, wow, that's real. So,
yeah.
But then you also, that's why a lot of athletes don't really try to talk to the media, because they chop up and they don't really say. If you look at Marshawn Lynch, he would hardly ever talk to the media.
Well, I don't put him in the same.
I don't put him in the same boat, but I'm saying, like, he would never talk to the media. He's like, I just don't fly. I mean, that's because the people
I'm only here so I don't get fined.
I'm only so I don't get fined. Like, he probably would never talk to the media.
That's not all the way true. He still talked to people that he respected. He would still talk to some people. Like, he would have interviews with, if he respected you, he would still have an interview. Otherwise, he was just there so he didn't get fined.
Yeah, but so he said he's got his own platform. He created it. Like, you can say virtually overnight, but literally overnight, he created his own platform. So there's no reason to go on to do interviews. But when that whole Charlamagne God thing
for his community, like he donated.
Shayla, hold on. You guys were talking at the same time.
Oh no. He even proposed that he may start doing interviews when it came to that girl that Charlamagne had his alleged incident with. He was like, I'll bring her on. Maybe I should interview her. And it's like, oh my God. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. And Charlamagne panicked, sent the cease and desist, and it's like, you ain't getting out of this. You should not have jumped in that quicksand. You shouldn't. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Shayla.
No, it's fine. I was just piggybacking off what we were saying. The same thing.
Oh, man. Oh, I lost my thought. Somebody said something that triggered me to think about even what he said about Allen Iverson. Same thing. Like, every time he brought up another player that this has happened to in the past, I was like, oh, yeah. Like, I don't know. But he's like, yeah, you did it to Allen Iverson.
Yeah, he brought up Melo.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was the same thing. And it's just like, you can't sit here and tell me that these aren't good players, like you guys said earlier. So why? You got to think about the why. What are we doing here? Breaking each other down. We should be building each other up.
Anyway. And it all comes down to money when it's all done.
Yep. Mm-hmm. But what's crazy is that correct, right? Because to what Tina was just saying, this guy has overnight become a sensation for how he's doing the opposite of what they're doing, and is resonating with people. So he can make money off of this if he gets 1 million followers, whatever, all the followers that some of these other podcasts have, and continues doing what he's doing in his own way.
But he doesn't need it though. So he's still got $8 million. He's got 15,000 square foot home. He's got 4 acres. He grows his own food. Like, he doesn't need any of this.
Yeah. Yep.
So all the money he gets in those super chats, he said, I'm buying shoes for kids. Like,
right.
He doesn't need anything. That's
about the money. Yeah, I didn't mean that it was about the money. I just meant more that for other people, it might be about the money and trying to grow their platform and stuff. But he still has a following. It's not like huge, but it's big and it's grown overnight, and people are still listening a week later. It hasn't fizzled out. Everything he says he's gonna keep talking about just makes me want to tune into the next thing he says. So I'm like, you're gonna do what? Oh, okay. I'm gonna click on the next one. I'm just like waiting.
And it's intensifying, because if you go into all their comments, you go into Breakfast Club comments, You go into what's the other one? You go into all their comments. It's all about they're calling them all the names. The Becky with the good hair. They're calling the violator. They're calling like all of them. And it's like, oh my god, all the comments. Like there's very few that are their own fans. And it's like it's the following is way bigger than they think, and they're aggressive. They're like, yeah, because they're offended all this time. We never thought of this. That's like, man, that's offensive. Like they're really going after young black men. Like, why are you doing that? And they're really splitting up the family. And when he said that, they're teaching, 3 and 4 or 5 year olds about their gender before they do talking about their father. It's like, oh man, everything he said, I'm telling you, people really need to listen to what he's saying. And I think he's converting a lot of people. He's converting a lot of people. I'm a fan. Yeah.
And that's what he'll say. He'll say, like, I'm coming after you. No, we're going to come after you. All his followers.
Yeah. He called all women. Like, how can you let that man sit there and he's calling on I don't know what the female his co-worker on that podcast. He was like, how can you sit next to that man? He's a violator. And he's just women, you all should come out and kick him out. I'm like, man. And they immediately you look in those comments, they started going at him. And that's not good for your sponsors. That's just not, because corporations want to stay as far away from that kind of stuff as possible. And they're going after him. And you could say they're canceling him, but really what he's doing is he's fighting back bullies who've been canceling people. And it's like the anti-cancel, because it's the ultimate. You want to do this to all of us? We're going to get rid of you, your little group, your little whatever this is, this little attack group. It's a bunch of bullies. And that's why he talks about how vain they all are. And listen to what you're saying to me. Like, how can you talk to me like that? It's like you just really think you're up here and we're all down here. And every time you do it, you're exposing how vain you are. And every time he says something like that, more people feel that because it's real. It's like, man, who do they think they are? Like, you can't just talk to anybody any way you want. And especially when you're talking to a man. And I think a lot of young men feel that, especially the ones who don't have fathers. Like, you can't talk to a man like that. I'm a grown man. You can't. If we were face to face, you would not do this. So why do you think you can do this now? And it just makes people question what their motives are. And it's intense. Bad. It's very intense, especially when he starts talking about the men thing, because it's big. It's huge.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wonder if we're going to, off of this, if we're going to enter the era of the clapback, where the media gets on something about an individual and that individual starts getting on them about their stuff. Because it's something that we haven't really seen up until this point. People out there, on television, because you're on television don't mean you don't do no dirt. So you better watch what you say about somebody, because you're gonna say about the wrong person and all your stuff gonna come out. You're gonna call somebody a bust and they're gonna tell you how many jobs you lost and what networks that you didn't survive with. So you better watch yourself, because it's real. I mean, we're a trend following society. This could be a trend that starts happening. So I'm interested in seeing how this goes forward with other people, because the media, that's how they make their money. Especially sports media, They talk mess about people, that they make the headline and they run with it on this channel, and this channel. And now the wrong person gonna say something. You're gonna say something about the wrong individual, and all your stuff gonna come out from 1970 and on. You in trouble, They're gonna tell you why Stephen A's hairline ain't receded like it should have.
He had a half a haircut.
He holding on to that couple inches up here. So you better watch out talking about these young men, man, because they ain't gonna take it no more. The information superhighway is there for everybody, not just you.
Yeah, that's a really solid point. I wonder. I want him to keep going, because nothing he said has been out of pocket, and he's just doing what they did. And like you said, if he's backing off after StephenJackson apologizes, okay, and then let's just see what happens, because he says he's gonna keep going, and I'm gonna keep watching. And if it works, why wouldn't other people defend themselves? Go for it. This is gonna be great. Yeah. The anti-cancel culture.
Bully. I'm out of there.
Like,
Yeah, boy. You ain't getting bullied no more up in here.
At least from a sports perspective, I think that's the perfect place to start that correction.
Right.
But anyway, that's just my opinion. Anything else? Any other thoughts? I mean, closing thoughts, summary thoughts. Watch your back.
Stay
Watch
tuned.
what you say about people.
Watch what you say.
Yeah,
You
watch
never
what you say
know
about
when
people.
you about to open the wrong door. Man,
The quiet ones.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, he ain't been. Kwame ain't said nothing to nobody for years.
20 years later.
Yeah. And that's probably why it caught everybody off guard. He's been so quiet for 20 years. So when he started coming, you're like, damn, he got a point.
Yeah.
And like you guys
there's no take back. Once it started, there's no take back.
Yeah.
I don't know about y'all, but I was always taught to leave the quiet ones alone.
Mm-hmm.
You never know, man. But if you haven't seen his videos, watch them, because if you were like me and saw a few clips here and there, they do not represent the full totality of what he was saying. They put a lot of those little clips out there when in the betweens and when he's cursing and stuff, but there is so much more to these videos, and it's worth listening to, because all of us will probably hear something different, and it's really interesting. His perspective as a 39-year-old Black man who's gone through it, from the slums to the highest of highs to now just a normal, well, not a normal life, but a life he's earned. Go ahead.
Has there ever been any basketball player with more pressure on them, though? Like, coming straight from high school, you're dealing with Jordan, you're dealing with Kobe. Like,
right.
The amount of pressure this dude came up in is like, it's impressive that he played as long as he did, because those two dudes alone they're infamous for tearing people down just to see if they're worthy of being on the court with them, because their goal is only to win. They don't care about anybody else. And that's how I love watching those kind of players. But you forget about the ones who are left in the wait. You got to go. You're not going to help me win. And that's what it's all about for them. So that dude's been under so much pressure. It's like, and he's cool as can be, riding his tractor. Talking about
what
I made my goal. I bought my mama a house when I was 18. That was my goal.
Yep.
That was his goal. What I liked is that, he explained, he's like, if you guys pay attention to basketball, he said, when I was a rookie, I didn't get a whole lot of playing time. I get thrown in garbage time when you're down by 30. He said, there's no running plays in garbage time. They wasn't calling plays for me. He's like, you trying to get your shot up. You trying to get yours. Yeah, you wasn't trying to worry about your teammate at 30 down. So he's like, you guys really need to pay attention to what you're seeing before you call somebody a bust. But I wanted to give a shout out to Jalen Rose, though, for actually coming to his defense and actually speaking truth to people when they were talking mess about Kwame Brown. Because the one thing I love about Jalen is real. Jalen don't care. He gonna say, he lets all his Detroit in him come out. So he don't care about your feelings. When everybody at his workplace, ESPN, was on the trash Kwame, Jalen was like, nah, man, you can't call this young man a bust. You can't call him a bust. You got to respect that.
Yeah.
You got to respect that.
Absolutely.
One big thing that's been missed: Matt Barnes only averaged one more point than him. Who is he to call
anybody a bust?
You only average one more point per game than this guy. Like, the nerve. Like, I just don't understand. That's why when he talks about them being so vain, it's like, yeah, who is this dude?
Who are
like,
you? When he talked about
that's why he started talking about his
stuff, I was like,
his wife and his kids, and man, you average one more point than him, and you started all of it with that tapping on his knee. It was only one player. That was a mistake of a lifetime.
When Kwame brought the Derek Fisher stuff up, I was like, man,
he said he was jumping over his own fence.
It was not funny. I'm not laughing.
That's because they didn't think Kwame was about that life. That's the problem.
Right. Yeah. Right.
They didn't think he was about that. That's what you never know a person. Like, you, just because the person quiet don't mean they a punk. They just probably waiting for the right time.
Bully.
Right.
When a bully.
They waiting for the right time. Like, I bet. Y'all want to go? Let's go.
Right.
When keeping it real goes wrong.
When keeping it real.
Or in this
I'm
case,
sure like he probably did more of his research because they all in that podcast network. All the smoke, Charlamagne. He probably like, you know what? Let me get all of them together because he probably gonna say something. Let me get stuff on him. He probably did all the research on everybody. So whoever want to say something, like, I've done my research.
Because he goes live right after like somebody says something or does something. Yeah, it's like instant. He pops right back up. It's like he's on again.
I'll be back in 45 minutes.
Because it's the same day.
I'll be back in 45 minutes. Yep. I got something for y'all.
I'm as soon as we get off of this, I'm gonna watch that one because when Charlamagne the God apologized, he was like, No. He's like, get off this tractor. I'm about to go live on you. I'm
tractor.
Like, yeah.
He was riding around.
That's what he does.
He about that farm life.
I was disappointed because I'm a fan of, like, I love Brilliant Idiot podcast, and then when he starts saying stuff and you look up, like, no.
But they put themselves in that situation. Didn't have to say nothing. He didn't have to say a thing.
Let sleeping dogs lie.
And you can't unknow it after the fact. It's like, come on.
A lot of people went through that with R. Kelly, Shayla. A lot of people still going through that.
Yes. In context, you'd be like,
all of a sudden, age ain't nothing but a number, and it seems like you're ready. Just you gotta cringe.
Y'all ain't never heard the song. I don't see nothing wrong with a little girl who's 9.
Figure out who they talking about.
Once you
no.
Once you know, you know.
That's hilarious.
It ruins the whole person for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Charlamagne. I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens because has he come back from something like this before? I feel like
he got away with. He slid under the radar with all that. Like people didn't know the details. Now they know the details, and now there's other clips coming out where he's praising R. Kelly, saying that was the greatest video he ever seen when he was peeing on it. So it's only going to get worse if
that's all.
Kwame brings that up. It's only going to get worse. His whole brand is done, which is why he decided, okay, now I'll apologize. And nah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's too late for that.
Way too
late for that.
No one's going to respect it. We're sitting here like,
no, I watched it and I'm like, yeah, no.
You should have just shut your mouth and not talked about his family. For what? For what?
He made himself donkey today. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
The person I am, I go hide now. I'd be like, you know what? I'm just gonna shut my mouth for a while. I need a vacation.
You know what?
Can somebody cover for me for a few months, please?
Come back and pray they forgot.
Right.
And it could have that's where I feel like a Charlamagne could come back because people could forget. You know, people's attention spans. I know you talk about you could watch a long podcast, but people tend to forget stuff after a few years. You never know. He might drop another book about his experience and someone will read it and then someone else will. So
I just been seeing more and more clips of him making fun of date rape. Mm-hmm. He did it to his wife.
What?
I mean, yes, there's videos being released of him saying this stuff.
That's what Kwame was saying. He said, I'm gonna find that video where he was talking about drugging somebody. I was like,
his wife. He drugged his wife.
Who said this?
Huh?
Charlamagne.
What funny is he's saying it. That's why you say you're trying to normalize. He's saying it like we've all done this. It's like, no, we haven't all done this. He's talking about slipping stuff in the girl's drink, and then when she passed out, taking advantage of her, and he's laughing.
Ain't Bill Cosby in jail for that?
It's like he thinks it's normal, and that's why I don't think he can come back as long as people start looking into this stuff. Because all the videos are out there. He did the interviews. That's what's so crazy. Like you called the R. Kelly video the greatest video of all time. Now all it does is show what we're seeing now. There's a pattern. Mm-hmm. It's insane that he's gotten successful for this long, but I just don't see how he survives that.
All it takes is one. What's that comedian Hannibal
Buress.
Hannibal Buress?
Mm-hmm.
All it takes is one comment at the right time to just put it all up and everybody starts going. Wait,
insert search engines.
Yep.
Insert the internet.
Insert the internet and podcasts and your own voice recorded saying dumb shit. You're like, oh my god! Everybody just kind of start shaking their head at the barbecue when your song come on.
What's funny is what I find hilarious is still some black people don't believe that Bill Cosby did any of that. I was like, you didn't hear Bill Cosby say what he was doing? Like it didn't come out of his mouth. Huh? He was lying on himself. Okay.
I was about to say he's saying, but that's not what he meant.
I love I love the Cosby Show just like anybody else. I love Fat Albert just like anybody else. But man, the man said he was date raping women. Like
I feel like people can't separate the genius from the monster. Like they can't accept that it can be both. Like they can't accept that you could just be the greatest genius, like amazing, have this talent from God and do this horrendous thing or be this person. Like they can't accept that it's both.
Mm-hmm.
They have to have one or the other.
Yeah.
It's real. This is crazy. It's gonna be fun watching the rest of this. I'm just gonna keep watching because I haven't subscribed to his channel yet, but I need to. I'm like 6 videos in. I'm just like shaking my head like I can't stop listening to this. And the pauses, like I said, the pauses are so brilliant because it literally gives me time to catch up. Did you hear what I just said? Oh, yeah.
Shantae, like, this is so refreshing.
Right.
Deep stuff. Good stuff. Well, thank you guys for joining and talking about it. Any last thoughts before we sign off? Other than follow Kwame Brown's YouTube.
Please.
Yeah.
Follow his
for your own good.
For your own
I appreciate y'all letting me participate this week.
Yes, thank you for joining. Yeah. Feel free to join us again. We love having you. We love having extra points of view all the time. It's just, as things come up, different points of view, talk about it.
I got some words of advice. Definitely. Remember, the internet never forgets, and watch your mouth.
Watch your mouth.
Watch your mouth.
Stuff will come back to bite you in the air.
I love that.
I'm getting all the t-shirts. I'm buying. You gotta buy them from him though. Buy them from him because he's doing good things with that money.
Yeah.
Don't make your own. Buy them.
That's awesome.
My mama's son.
Support the cause.
My mama's son.
Yep. Mama's cooking. Mama's son. Maybe even the Becky with the good hair. Violator. You can do all of them. Allegedly. Violator, allegedly. That'd be a good shirt.
That'd be an awesome shirt. Oh my God.
Violator, allegedly.
He gonna make all of them. He needs one good PR person. They already got him in print.
Oh man.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Y'all. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you so much for joining our discussion. Be sure to go and check out our other discussions on our website at ChitChatChill.com. Also, support a small business and check out our merchandise, also on our website at ChitChatChill.com/shop.